Good morning, grade 7. This is Mr. Chris here with your first ever recorded video of your grade 7 IS class. Welcome to the program for today, or for this time going forward with all this home-based learning and the coronavirus. I want to say hello. I miss you guys. I'm wondering how you're doing. So if you can email me, let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. We will be having two online virtual meeting sessions where we will talk about these videos, other assignments that you've been given, so stay tuned and make sure you are attending those. There will be a new attendance policy for virtual meetings, but we won't get into that now. Right now, we are looking at, for our first lesson for online video the online video lessons, here you will find the colonization, looking at the progression. So we started with the 7 essential elements. You've been doing readings about Australia, about the United States, about other countries around the world, and how it went, how it went down. Right now, we will be starting at the beginning of colonization, right on through the end. So when did it start? Who did it? How did it happen? And then we'll hit some of the major hotspots, some of the 5 major countries that were part of the push in the 1600s, and then end with a project. So this is number 1. I hope you enjoy. We got a lot to go through today. So the process will be, we'll look at mostly the Greeks, some Roman and Viking information. It's just all for fun. The Age of Discovery. We'll look at India, Indonesia. There's a lot of they interlock quite a bit. Hopefully, we'll be able to look at China, the Americas, and Africa as well. But I'm going to hold those 3 pretty loosely right now. As long as we're getting through some of the beginning processes, identifying our essential elements, and then being able to apply those to our project, because I think you'll be learning about Africa in the project. You might be learning about the Americas in your project. Bagus? Okay, moving on. Don't click. In the beginning, Greek slash the Romans and the Vikings, but we'll hold off on them. Looking at how the Greeks colonized each essential element, we'll review. So the Greeks. Greeks, as you remember from grade 6 IS, which was last year with me, we learned about these city-states, these policies, and how as these city-states continue to grow, they began to run out of room, right, or food and available stuff. So what they decided was, we got a huge population, we got a strong government, stability, good economy, and our power is growing. What should we do? Okay, they started giving more rights to citizens, individuals in the council. People started to spend less time working for providing for themselves, for getting food, right? And a lot of the work was left to the slaves, to people who are lower in society, the peasants and the farmers. So what happened through this development of government, the development of an economy, the development of stability and laws, um, they began to lose lose their working force. So they had lack of people to work the fields. They needed a solution. Okay, they needed food and they needed slaves to work for them. Okay, what did this do? Where there's a need, okay, we respond by finding. So they sent boats out with their own people, and remember, they're in the Mediterranean Sea, the Aegean Sea. It's kind of like Indonesia, lots of islands all over the place. They sent out boats with their own people and basically started communities. This is colonization. Started towns on the other side of the pond, as they would say, on the other side of a body of water. These people entered the land. Some of it, there might not have been anybody there. They just plunked their stuff down and started cultivating the earth, started building homes and cities. Some of it was already inhabited by people. So they landed, captured the people in the land. Once they've captured the people in the land, they would um, send those people who they captured back to be slaves in the mother country, in the mother city, and then they forced the others who lived there to build them their new Greek city, to help them establish a life. And so they, these new colonizers, the people sent from Athens, these people sent from these other cities, started building cities that resembled the one that they left. And the purpose of these cities was to provide for some of the needs of the mother country, or the mother city, okay, the mother city state, mother country. And so they built these new Greek cities, and These towns started producing food. They sent wood. They sent ivory. They sent metals back. Remember, these are trading people. They've got boats, and these boats are going everywhere all the time. They established in these cities the same form of government, the same form of leadership, the same laws that they left from. And so it became almost a miniature Athens, a miniature um, any other Isonia. Like there's a whole bunch of other cities. Like it became miniature. So they began to resemble. They brought their own religions, traditions, cultures, um, economic system, money with them, and so they began to establish. The children in these colonies, they learned from the Greek tutors. Okay, the same process. Kids were brought up to be able to contribute to the government, contribute to this council. Mother cities established leaders. Okay, these leaders weren't necessarily elected, but they were promoted or installed by the mother country. Athens would install a city governor or something like that in these places to help grow it and to work and act in the best interests of the mother country. Um, the colony was responsible for making the lives of the mother country as nice and comfortable as possible. So there's a purpose here. Okay. Here you can see how the purple is the different cities that we're colonizing. Okay. Um, you can find Sparta. You can find a whole bunch of all your fun Greek and Phoenician colonies. So this isn't 500 BC. This is 500 years before Jesus Christ. Okay. Or Common Era, people like to call it now. And you can see it all over. Rome hasn't quite started, but it's this process of expansion. The population of the world was really low back then because honestly, there wasn't many people for very long. It's hard to start a world full of people when there's few. And so as it grows, they expand more resources, more food. Remember, the Greeks were all about children, prosperity, like they needed fertility, right? Their crops needed to grow, all these things. And so as they were had access to more, they started to take more on for themselves, and so they had bigger families, things like that. Um, Next one. As you know, the Greeks weren't the only ones who were colonizing. So Rome, after the rise of the Greeks and Alexander the Great, um, they basically followed the same pattern, establishing Pax Romana in different places. However, they weren't concerned so much about making them citizens of Rome as they placed them in different places. They went to a city that they had conquered or other places, and they established the government and they gave citizenship to the people there, displacing some of them, but keeping them enough so that they would have ownership in what it was. And a Roman citizenship was incredible. There was a lot of slaves in the Roman time, but there was also a lot of people who were moving up the ladder um, through laws and policies put out by the governments that they would give land to people who had served for a certain amount of time and were victorious in the army. And so these generals would commit land to them. And so we have the growing of the Greek ideas, the Greek laws, culture, traditions, and so the religion spread. And so you see this time of Pax Romana as a time of great strength and stability, but also it was something that unified them in how they brought Rome to other places and how these other places supported Rome. Now, the kingdom did divide, right? Began to crack and fracture, but every kingdom rises and falls, so it's expected. Um, so for the rest of this session, today's session, you learned about the Greeks. You already know a lot about it, so I'm not going in depth, but just giving you a picture of what Greek colonization was. It was a whole bunch of people loading up in boats, settling lands, establishing a city-state that was very similar and provided for the mother country. For this, list the 7 essentials for colonization. I need this in managed back. From your explain the world wealth of pi in 2 or 3 or more sentences. Explain to me again why the color for this unit is green. What does green represent? How do we see it? Where does it come out? And then answer this question: how did the Greek colonization lead to an expansion of Greek ideas, laws, and traditions? 3 or more sentences. Please submit those to me. on Manage Back at the end of this week. Enjoy. I know it wasn't too much. There's lots of videos you can find of different people on YouTube who can explain more things like that. It's actually very interesting, colonization. As always, I hope you have a great day. Take care of yourselves. Don't forget to come to our virtual meeting sessions and take time to spend with each other. Talk, email, let each other know how you're doing. Maybe start a Bible study online. Take care. I'll see you again.